Hello, good morning. How are you today?
Morning.
Thank you for coming on the Zoom with me with Master Networks today. Tell me about yourself.
Well, for me, I got started with LegalShield back in 2007, December of 2007. For me, I was just looking for something extra on the side just to help me get through while I was halfway through my senior year of high school, and I was working 40 hours a week at a canine daycare boarding facility.
Oh, nice.
Yep. And in February of '09, I started to feel the downturn in the economy when the recession hit us back then. And
Yeah.
I was downsized from my job, lost half of my hours. And eventually, back in November of 2009, they finally just laid me off. And I mean, while I lost all those hours working for somebody else, I just had to reinvest that time elsewhere and put that time into my legal shield business.
So you were doing LegalShield part-time in seven and also working for the canine place.
hmm
And then in nine or 10, you went full-time with LegalShield.
Yep. Pretty much when it got to the point to where I was working minimum wage back then, it was like 7.25, put in 8 hours of work and make what, 65, 67 bucks. And then I go to a lunch break, sell a membership, and make double that in an hour. It's like, where do I want to spend my time?
Exactly. I, like you, ended up in a commissioned-based position in at 19, 20 years old. So I understand how you're trading hours for time and time for money and all of that. So go on, tell me how's been Legal Shield going and more about Legal Shield in itself. Because I kind of got in and I didn't really know much about it, but a friend of mine introduced me and I went ahead and did it.
So how I got more involved in it was, obviously you just heard part of my story, and then obviously being a product of the product. There's been times to where I call the attorney about numerous things from, something big like being mistakenly be a person that's all of a sudden owns $10,000 of credit card debt, and they were looking for a different Michael Jacobs at the time.
Oh, yes, isn't that lovely?
Yeah, it's like I tell them it's not me that owes this credit card through Chase Bank, but they were insistent it was me.
Yep.
So eventually, just talking with my identity theft specialists, they asked, since it's a nationwide coverage, just basically how the conversation went. So, well, Mr. Jacobs, let me do a quick search for you. Which state do you live in? And I said, Florida. And they said, well, Mr. Jacobs, there's about 66,000 people in the state of Florida who share your name. Which county do you live in? And I said, Brevard County. Well, there's about 4,400 people in Brevard County who share your name. Which city do you live in? And I said, Rockledge. He's like, there's only one other individual in the city of Rockledge that shares your name. So when they call you back, ask them if the Michael Jacobs they're looking for, if their middle initial starts the letter D. And if they're insisted, they still want to come after you for it, just give us a call back. We'll take care of it for you.
Wow.
So, like clockwork, the debt collection agency calls me back, and I asked them point blank, it's like, after, you know, y'all called me yesterday, I called my identity theft specialists, and they wanted me to ask you a question, and they want me to ask you if the Michael Jacobs you're looking for, if their middle initial starts with the letter D. And they said yes. And it's like, well, there's your problem. That's not my middle initial.
Right.
So after verifying that, it's like, okay, we'll just put a note in the system and I'll call you back at this number again. And that was back in June of 2010.
Right. So anybody else not knowing their legal rights would have ended up taking the calls, yelling at the people, demanding that they stop calling. And then they can do that for 30 days, but then they call you right back again. So
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. Having Legal Shield, being able to call them at a moment's notice. Well, not quite a moment's notice, but close enough, and to get the advice that you needed.
Hmm.
I think it's valuable. I've used them multiple times throughout the years, probably not to the extent that I could be using them because I don't know all the benefits. So why don't you share that with us?
Well, for starters, you have that consultation benefit. So anytime you have any questions about anything, you could just pick up the phone and consult with the attorneys about the matter. So if you have a real estate issue, then you get a real estate attorney. It's a tax situation, then you get a tax attorney. So no matter the issue, you're always having appropriate attorney returning your phone call. And based upon those consultations, they could also review contracts and documents for you. I've had a couple issues to where, for me, I had a if I end up renting a vehicle after I crashed a car, and no, we claimed it as a total loss because how much it cost to repair or just to replace the airbags alone, it wasn't really worth it for the vehicles. No, very old at the time, so it's like let's just claim it as a loss. And with that, I still had $1,000 auto loan left on that.
Oh, wow.
So I called my law firm and consulted with them about that. And I said, well, I still have $1,000 left I owe on this thing that I no longer drive. Now, would it be possible if we could negotiate that down? And the attorney's response, like, sure, how much are you looking for? So I said, well, see if we could reduce it from $1,000 to 500 and I just pay that off in 5 months. So the attorney's like, okay, I'll write that up for you and we'll send it to them and see what the response would be. So 2 weeks go by, we get a response back from Chase, who was the auto loaner.
Oh, again.
So yeah, so
Now they're
they
looking
gave
back
us
in
a
the file and saying, Michael Jacobs, you owe us.
yeah, so they gave us a counter offer, reducing it from 1,000 to 750, and then I just paid off in 8 months. So we took that deal, saved me $250.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Why didn't the insurance pay it off after the accident? It was upside down in the loan or something.
Well, the insurance was due to the accident, it was my fault. It was back
Oh.
actually in 2009, February, Valentine's Day of all days. I kissed a light pole.
You what?
I kissed a light pole with my car.
Oh, no. Well, thank God you're okay.
Yeah, so I mean,
Oh,
since I
wow.
was at fault, of course, insurance is like, but it's like we're going to claim it as a
Deductibles,
loss anyway, so
probably, that was
forget it.
probably your deductible might have been
Yeah.
of what was left. Got it. Understood. Okay. Well, that's a good thing that you got it down and a great benefit of what they do. Tell me a little bit more about the other benefits that are included and free. I do know that they do review up to 10 pages at no charge. And
Hmm.
I don't think that there's any cap on how many times that they'll do that for you. I've never
Now,
had
there's no cap. It's unlimited. It's up to the 10 pages per issue.
per issue, right?
Mhm.
Exactly. Or not really an issue because sometimes it's just a matter of reviewing a contract. But they'll do wills and will they do trusts?
So estate planning is a part of it. So that's your will, your living will, your medical and financial powers of attorney. And there's a different number of ways you can actually get those, um, how those work for you. Like there's a durable, a limited power durable, springing. So there's a different variety of ways you can
Yes.
work that out. So that's where the consultation of the attorneys come into play, figuring out which way is the best way for what you're trying to accomplish. And
Right.
then
So that,
trusts
go ahead.
and trusts are handled at the preferred member discount. So there will be an out-of-pocket expense, but you're getting at least a 25% discount off of what the attorneys would normally charge.
And I am aware that the attorneys are not just right in your backyard. You're assigned to a certain location.
So there is a provider law firm in every state that handles all the memberships for that state.
Oh, only one
Flor-
law firm. They're not in
Florida,
regions.
Florida is unique. We have two provider law firms, North and South regions.
Oh, okay.
So southern regions are handled by Glance Law,
That's right.
which is out of Plantation,
Yep.
and they have offices in Tampa and somewhere else. They have 3 different offices.
Yeah, when they
So,
don't have an office in your area, I think that they refer you to another office. And I
well,
don't know how those
that's
attorneys get on the list.
so there's the main provider network, which is Glance Law, and then when it comes to different jurisdictions, that's where the referral network comes into play. So, like, the obvious would be if you receive a moving traffic violation, it would be better instead of Glance Law handling for something that's outside of their county or area where they practice, is be better just to get a traffic attorney in the jurisdiction where you received the ticket to better represent you, because they know the laws in that area. They know the judge more than likely than somebody from Glance Law.
Right, right, because I had some issue in Texas and they referred me to an office in
Mhm.
Texas. That was outside of the area to handle that.
There
Yeah,
was a
that's great.
time to where I was traveling. I was in South Carolina at the time, and I witnessed an accident. So when I called, my main provider firm was still Florida at the time,
Right,
and I just told them the situation, what's going on, and where I'm at. So they just took my information, forwarded on to the South Carolina law firm for them to give me the call back. So
right,
when I got that return phone call, it was a traffic attorney from the South Carolina law firm, just to walk me through. If it's something minor, then I probably don't have to worry about a thing. But if it's something worse, like somebody actually dies as a result of that accident, and I could be called in as a witness to, give my statement
right.
to. So he went through all the best case to worst case scenarios with me. I was like, well, if you get your summons, just give us a call back and we'll talk you through what your options are, helping you with that.
Yep, exactly. And I know the hours are accumulated over the years of your membership for your own support of an attorney if you need to be represented in court.
Yep. So there is a section of our membership to where there is a hourly schedule. So things are like, if you are named as a defendant in a covered civil suit, if you get that love letter from the IRS saying they want more of your money, you selected for an audit. So you get 50 hours of a tax attorney's time to help you with an audit. You get up to 300 hours of an attorney's time to help you with covered civil suits when you're named as a defendant in that suit.
Wow, fantastic. So what type of clientele are you looking for? What is your, unique avatar that you look for when you're um, introducing your services to somebody?
Well, we have our business coverage. So there are clients I've been working with are like your GCs to your HVAC companies, because they are still dealing with insurance from Ian. You're still dealing with customers who expect everything and not really think that they owe so much money, and they always creating that conflict between the HVAC companies or general contractors, to where now that customers harassing the business owner or the business owner's employees. And I've actually had to deal with
Interesting.
that. Yeah, I actually had to deal with that with the GC, to where they're getting customers that are, being rude and threatening. And it's like, okay, what do I have to do? What are my options of dealing with this kind of a client? It's like, well, you have the membership, call the law firm and discuss it with the attorneys. Find out what your options are.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't think about it like that. I was figuring that, it was some type of coverage in case somebody sued the business owner because of the work that they weren't satisfied with or something, or somebody got injured on their possession. One second. Copy and dose. Hey, Google. Off.
Sorry, power control is not
Don't
supported.
you just love those timers?
Mm.
Okay, so yeah, so it's great. I love like I said, I've had LegalShield, and I want to say probably since 2000. So long time. Well, that's
It's,
fantastic.
I mean, it's a good long time, at least 20 years or close to it.
Yeah. Do I get any special bonuses?
Well, you got your, like I said, up to 300 hours of when you're named as a defendant in a civil suit. You had that cap, which we already discussed about, and you're grandfathered in from the changes from our older plans to our newer ones. I know you talked about you going to look into how much you pay for it now because you suspected that it was increased from $24.95 to an additional $5.
I thought it was that I saw that, but I'll have to take a look again.
I know it was
Just
back
went
in this.
online. When I was online, I think that now that they still have a monthly or do they charge in full?
It's still a monthly charge, so you could pay for
And,
it by
and
the
on the
month or
monthly, I saw it said 24, but I thought somewhere a small thing that said when paid in full. So did their prices go up to 30 monthly, but stayed under 25 if you pay in full for the year? I don't know. I'll have to go back and check.
Mm. No, it was back in December when they gave that notice that the premium increased from what we were paying like 17 a month to now it's 24.95 a month, add some additional benefits to make it more up to
December
date.
when?
Hmm.
December when? What year?
It was December of last year. So it was
You guys were
22.
at 17 December of last year?
No, from $17 a month is how much the old plans were. Our
Because
legal
we've been paying
plans.
24.95 since day one in 2000.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's how much our legal plans were, 17, or there's a $26 an option. But I mean,
Oh,
that's like,
different levels. Okay, different levels.
yeah. I mean, majority of the people get the 17 a month, so it's like I didn't even focus on the 26 one because it's like a
I
very
think it's because
minor difference.
I think it's because I have a family plan because includes my son until, from what I read now, until he is graduated college or 26 years old.
Yeah, up to the age of 26. Yep.
Right. So we're right there on both of those. Then his last semester of graduating year, and he turned 26 already.
Yep.
So
It's
I'm gonna
time.
need to
Sounds
call
like
the
it's time.
office.
Sounds like he needs to get his own plan here soon.
Yes, it does sound like it, and I need to call the office to get that last little bit of whatever value I can get out of it for him until he goes off and starts his own. Well, that's great. Thank you very much for all the information on LegalShield.
Hmm.
If anybody needs any LegalShield ongoing buffering in their business or their personal, it's a great place to look at when you don't have that contingency funding that you can put down to have an attorney on call at all times.
I mean,
So,
just the value of getting the consultations, and I have them, like I said, review the rental agreement to like one of these rental car companies. It's
right,
like, I mean, people don't think about writing, getting that reviewed, but even though it was a small cost, it saved me $15 off of something that I didn't have to pay for.
right,
But I mean, how many people brush that off? It's like, I ain't gonna hire an attorney just to review that page.
right, exactly. And now you can at no cost, and it's
Hmm.
you money, whether you needed it, to know whether you needed it or not.
I
Well,
had
that's
to dispute a because I owned a horse at the time too, and
uh,
I had my boarding agreements reviewed. I had to do a yearly procedure for my horse called a Coggins test, negative Coggins.
Mm.
just to like check the blood for any infectious disease that could be spread amongst other horses.
Oh,
So
wow. Okay.
that's a yearly thing that I had to do for my horse.
Right.
And the vet that I used, I wrote the check the day they came out there. Like 2 weeks go by after I wrote that check, I end up getting the invoice in the mail saying that I owe $35 for this. It's like, well, I know that's BS because I wrote the check when I was there. So
Ah,
I checked my bank statements just to be sure that the check did go through. So not only did it go through, I was double charged for it. So a 35 thing ended up becoming $70.
wow. Yeah.
So my instinct, because I've been a LegalShield member for a while, is like, I'll just call the law firm and figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it makes it easy when they're just a dial away,
So
or a fax and an email. I know plenty of times I'll just send it in whatever I need to after hours. And by the next morning, I have an assignment, and then an attorney calls either that day or the next morning. Usually it's that day. So they're pretty quick. They are good.
yep. And even the attorney, after she listened to me, and she's like, well, did you give them a call first just to see if they'll be
Right.
willing to take care of this? Like, no, you were my first phone call. It's like, well, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's give them the opportunity to correct the issue. If they don't, then give me a call back and I'll fix it for you.
Exactly. Because they're trying to regulate their time as well. So
Yeah.
I can see that. I can understand that. Well, that's fantastic. Thanks so much for some information about yourself and about LegalShield.
Yeah.
I myself have trickled along through multiple different types of businesses throughout my year. Like I said, in my early 20s, I realized that a commission-based income was far better than anything that was an hourly rate. I did the whole hourly rate prior to that while I was in high school, and then ended up in commissions in my very first real life job, and loved it, just absolutely loved it, and was motivated by the fact that I can control my time and earn, like continue to earn and increase with my time. So I teach my son that, even though he's a teacher, so he'll be working on the clock, doing what he's doing. And I'm so proud of him as being a history teacher in middle school coming this fall.
Mm.
But he also has that little entrepreneurness inside of him that he showcased back when he was very young, creating his own style of Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon cards for dueling and stuff. It was called Monster Warriors. Very cool. Drew his own images. We created a whole deck of cards. He had a party with all his friends and dueling and stuff. But that just instilled a bit of that in him, that I'm sure it's going to be something that he does, like maybe for summertime, where he picks up on some type of entrepreneur job, or I should say business, that he chooses to do in between his teaching job, because I think he really likes doing it. He gets all
That
excited, a big old smile on his face when he
that
comes home
takes
from
me
the school.
back. I got into the Yu-Gi-Oh cards when they first came out too.
Oh yeah, no, he had stacks of them, but it was really cool when he got to make his own and hand them out. So in my 20s, I was a hairdresser. In my 30s, I had my son at 30, and I ended up opening up my own vacation tourism business out of my home. I could be with him at the same time. His father was there, eventually ended up quitting his job and coming home because we did well enough for that. Accumulated up to 15 watercrafts, and I was managing about 35 properties and booking fishing charters and island hopping, renting boats and jet skis. It was great. It was fantastic. I taught myself how to back a trailer into the boat ramp, not even knowing how to even hook up a trailer to the vehicle, let alone backing it up and launching a craft and all that. So that was pretty cool for me. I got a few things under my belt there that I hadn't ever done before. And with my son's father being an auto mechanic, I learned a few things on that side. because my father was a body man, so kind of had a little bit of that instilled in me growing up. Always great to teach your daughters about the cars. Teach them how to handle themselves outside the home, as well as teaching your boys how to handle themselves in the kitchen. A woman loves a man who knows his way around the kitchen. But on to that, 9/11 kind of debauched that business, and I ended up taking the vacation rental properties and going straight into real estate. And in my 40s, got my brokerage and started running that business. And then in my 50s, my parents took ill, so I ended up in health and wellness. They're doing great. Cannabis, natural alternative medicines. Up until 5 years ago, I thought the plant was a drug, and I came from the time period where you crack an egg on a frying pan and that's your brain. Well, come to find out that cannabis does the complete opposite. It is nature's medicine, can be eaten raw, put it on your salad when we grow it here in Florida. And from there, extractions, oils, edibles, consuming it in every way, shape, or form, as well as applying it topically all over face and everything else. It does reverse wrinkles. Hit me up if anybody wants that. But I love it now. It's great. The only thing I never got into is smoking it. I had a tiny little bout when I first met my son's father. He smoked cigarettes when I first met him, and I played a little bit with that at the bars only, but didn't care for how it made my throat feel or made my hair smell. So quit that very quickly, and just went on. He quit as well, and just went on to learning about the cannabis when my father needed it. He's got Alzheimer's. At this point, there's no cure for it. So the cannabis did manage to stop the progression to a snail's pace. I could not believe it. I was hoping that at least we'd get more of him coming back, but he only had very small bouts of it after several years. Would always call my name out, but didn't always know who I was. So I don't know the parallel in him remembering my name at times, or just thinking, okay, I just called this person that, they'll come when I call them that again. So it's hard to know, how well it did for him, but he was already at 50%. I think if I had gotten him at the very beginning, I would have had he would have gotten a lot more clarity back, but because of the hereditary factor, and that I had a DNA test, it was cannabis a related DNA test. So it also went on to the, the possibilities of Crohn's, epilepsy, heart disease, mental illness, diabetes. It told you a whole lot of different health related, but it also let me know what cannabinoids are best for my DNA, and what terpenes, most importantly, because the terpenes are the essence of the plant, and they've realized that those are the actual medicine that you want to concentrate on. So with that, I realized that over the years I had learned that 4 of them were doing me really good, but I was still missing 4. So that was very impressive for me, and which is why I highly recommend anybody who really is looking for it to do that. So I'm saying here that we are just about out of time. I'm not sure if you're still online with me, but I'm going to close this now and say thank you very much for joining us. And let's do this again in about 6 months so that we can catch up and see what's new in our lives.
Yeah, see, we have about 9 minutes left. I see the
Oh, is that what
timer
it's
too.
saying on your end? Okay.
Yep.
Because I just got something that said we're running low. All right,
Yeah,
fantastic.
9 minutes
Questions
left.
for me and
And
what I do?
yeah, I sent you in the chat. It's another part of your benefits. I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to set that up.
Oh, I'll
It's
take a look at it.
yeah. So
Yeah.
just a
All
little
right.
something you can use with your membership.
Thank you. Do you currently use cannabis?
The only thing I use cannabis is actually I use CBD biscuits for dogs.
So you only use it for your dog, you're not using it for yourself,
Nah, not personal consumption.
because CBD and hemp related products under the cannabis umbrella are highly beneficial in many different ways. Inflammation, reduction of when you're reducing pain. For instance, my father, at this point, I'm no longer slowing down the progress. So he's not on an abundance of medical marijuana. He's primarily on hemp. And with that, his knees and shoulders are bone on bone, and he's literally in no pain. Walks around, moves around, lifts his arm. The orthopedic couldn't believe he had so much movement with just the hemp cannabis. So it's excellent on anti-inflammation if you've got any joint pains or anything to that effect. And it's really great for focus, brain-related effects, fogginess, sleep. There's many things for hemp. It's what our body needs with the cannabinoid system. You know, we have an endocannabinoid, the plant is a phytocannabinoid. We belong together with the plant. So you might want to check into it. Let me know if you want to discuss it further on a call or something.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and you have a good day.
All right. You take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.